You're listening to another episode of Mr. Allard's Neighborhood. This is a place where we're entitled to Brad's opinion. And now for your host, Brad Allard.
You know, Taylor, just noticed something. Sitting on this side of the table, I could see you in action.
We'll make sure that never happens again.
Yeah, all right. I could just, I could see all the technical stuff going on back there. It's like, somebody drew back the curtain. Don't pay attention to that man behind the curtain. Anyway, that kind of thing. Anyway, I digress. Today we have Chelsea and Mark Reedland from Hope Local, which is an organization I became acquainted with last week when I stumbled in on Aaron Scarborough's podcast, and we set this up. And it's really fortuitous because you have an event coming up. Not so much a fundraiser, but a publicization, more kind of thing, publicizing what you do.
Yeah, really. It's just an opportunity for people in the community to come learn about what's happening in child welfare and figure out how they can get involved and get plugged in.
And so that's interesting also because y'all deal with the foster system a lot. And then on Friday, Shandy, one of my sponsors, whom I don't know if you know her or not, but the audience does, she works for Re-Inspire. And we're going to try to get y'all two together because Re-Inspire helps the adoption kids, the kids that are adopted or in foster situations that are aging out, trying to help them adjust because what we were talking about prior to the show, it isn't quite that easy an adjustment for a lot of them.
Yes, statistically speaking, it just most of these kids are not set up for success. They don't have the skills or the tools necessary, and they certainly need some help in that transition.
Well, I'll call Shandy. She's pretty busy with kids and the real estate, but and see if we can get y'all together.
Yeah.
Because that would be a pretty good thing for y'all to get together.
Yeah, we'd love to connect.
Yes.
But anyway, before we jump into what y'all do and how y'all do it and where y'all do it, going to go with first round of sponsors, and they're all excited to when I send them messages, say, hey, this is a good show we're about to have, and they're like, this is why we sponsor, and they can hear me bellyache about the politics anytime they want, but they like these kind of shows. So thank you, Daniel. Daniel Baisden over across at Burleson, 317 Southwest Wilshire. He's been an original sponsor from them. We've been doing the show since September 19, and
That's amazing.
It is. And he's a good community citizen, and CrossFit Burleson has the training, they have the trainers, they have the program, so you're not just out there on your own. You'll be able to have a full-on workout regimen. Also, like I mentioned, Shandy, our sorry, I got a little dust in my throat out here. Shandy Stogsdill, the Stogsdill Group, turning transactions into relationships. I guess we don't have to tell you all that real estate's going through the roof out here.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so she will help you find a home because quite often she'll know homes before they come on the market. That's about the only way you can get in to it. Also, I'm going to step down here. We have a woman named Sherry Scott that's listened to the show, and she likes these kind of shows too, but she does blessing boxes. You heard of those?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, great.
With the food distribution,
Yeah.
and she kind of ramrods that thing, and that's the kind of people we have in Burleson. Is that since I've been able to do this show, I've been getting more and more aware of just people like Miss Scott and organizations like y'all's. Anyway, Rex Russell at the Russell Wealth Group. I've known him for many years. We graduated college together. Russell Wealth Group at myfinancialbox.com. Hit the link. And he'll help you with your 401ks, 403bs, IRAs, all the letters and numbers you want to throw at him. In particular, the stock market going nuts, you need somebody that's going to calm you down.
You definitely need a professional in these times.
Yeah, really. And he's been doing it for a long time. So Rex is a good man to talk to about that. Also, Gayla Moores at Southern Gym. She's another fine Christian woman, and she has the jewelry on the top of the Windmiller building. You know where that is? It's over the Standard by the baseball fields.
Yeah.
It's on the third floor, and she's looking to expand in that building. She's not moving locations. My wife just is going to work for her this summer.
Oh, that's great.
So, yeah, and she's a good woman. My wife too, I mean, but also Gayla Moores, and she likes these things a lot. Also, another good woman, Michelle Humphrey at Hotworks, is an infrared workout system. You go over there and they have these areas that you can do hot infrared workouts of various different kinds: Pilates, yoga, biking, rowing, whatever. And it maximizes the workout, and it helps you, helps with the muscle stresses and whatnot. And so a lot of people just love it. I mean, your business is booming. So
sounds right up your alley, Chelsea.
Well, honestly, it is. It's one of these things. You go into one of the booths, and it's probably about the size of this studio. And so it's not just by yourself. If you want to take a friend in there with you, it's not a big deal. There's plenty of room, and they have like screens, and they could help you with the workouts. and whatnot. So, you might want to check that out sometime.
Yeah, will you get with me?
Yeah, clearly a place I need to spend a little bit more time.
Yeah, well, it's on John Jones or 714, depends how you refer to it around here. It's over by the Kroger and the Premier Theater.
Okay.
And across the street from all that new construction they're making for medical buildings and such. All right, let's get down to it. Tell us, first of all, what does Hope Local do exactly? Because when I was looking on your website, before I did, actually, I thought it was one thing, but actually it's much broader than that. So what exactly is it?
Yeah, our whole organization is founded out of the idea that every child belongs in a family. And unfortunately, too many kiddos right here in our community and in Texas and across the U.S. and really in the world don't have that opportunity. And so our organization helps churches get involved in caring for vulnerable kids and families and helping them recruit foster and adoptive families, build support communities around them, and then serve in their community. We just kind of believe that caring for the vulnerable is a foundational function of the Christian faith.
Absolutely.
And it's not really like a special calling or a special gifting. It's just what we do as believers.
No. I disagree. It is a calling and it is a gifting. I mean, it really is. I mean, God called you for this, and He gave you the wherewithal, the equipment to do it.
Yeah, certainly. Within that arena, there's different places that require calling and require gifting, but all of us can play a part in this.
Exactly.
And so I think that's really what our heart is to see the Big C Church re-engage in this arena and begin to bring health to a really broken and hurting system.
Well, and as a former school teacher, I saw many kids in the foster system, and I had a lot of kids that were adopted as a young age. And you're doing both. It's not so much like you're an adoption agency where you have children. You're just trying to match up children with prospective parents, right?
Well, ultimately, we're just trying to call the broader church to step into this because we think that the best families available are going to come from our church congregations.
Let's hope. Yeah, that's true.
And at least ideally speaking, that's what it should look like. And so we're trying to call them to action, show them where the issues are, and help them step into that so that they can be families for these kids. Whether it's a temporary situation like a foster placement or a permanent situation like adoptions, we think those families should come from the churches. And so we want to help the church see that and step into it.
Now, Chelsea, you were telling me that y'all adopted some kids. And these aren't foster kids; these are adopted kids, right?
They are now, yes.
Okay. When you talk about adoption versus foster care, adoption is it's more permanent on a lifetime basis, is it not?
Yeah, life commitment.
So these 3 that you've adopted are your children now.
Absolutely.
And you adopted them as teenagers. And, if that's something, your oldest one is now, you told me 22?
22, yes.
How old was she when you adopted her?
17. Yeah.
There has to be some concerns about adopting a teenager because they've probably had some pretty hard life experiences by that age, I would imagine. Whereas when most people think of adoption, they think of infants. And
that was our story as well. When we stepped into this, we had 3 biological boys, and we imagined that we were going to adopt a little 2-year-old princess that fit nice and neat in the birth order.
Whoa! You got 3 boys of your own, and you adopted these kids?
We had 3 biological boys.
Well, jewels in your crown, guys.
Yeah, I already had the bows picked out for my little girl. I mean, we were pretty set that we were going to do. I think like 2 or 3 years old was the oldest that we wanted to do. And once we kind of got into it, we just saw the need for teenagers. And so we saw who's our daughter now, a picture of her. And I asked her caseworker, what's kind of the outcome for her? What are...
Yeah, I'm trying to wrap my head around this because when you adopt an infant, a 1-year-old, you see a whole lifetime of, Little League and elementary school plays and the whole thing. But when you get one at 17... she's been in the system a while. He's been in the system a while. Not every experience has been a good one. Because I had a student at DBU that same what you're talking about here. She went through the entire system, but she was very academically gifted, so DBU was able to help her with a scholarship. And she had a foster family that treated her well and helped her get an education. But that's not the story for all of them.
No, having a good foster family can make all the difference in the world. And we've seen that even with our kids. Our newest son was in care 11 years and in 28 placements before he came to us.
28.
So
why so many? I mean, is it just that hard to find good placements, or just steady foster care, or?
Yep.
It's got to be very upsetting. Very very difficult to try to maintain a normal approach to life if you're going through 28 situations like that? He must have a hard time.
Trusting.
Yeah, that's. I guess I started to say that, and I thought, nah, that's kind of tacky. But yeah,
Yeah.
that's exactly what happens.
He would say that if he was here.
Yeah.
Okay, how old is he again?
He's 19 now.
Okay, so when you adopt them as teenagers, are you also accepting the fact that their education and whatnot, and then at post high school level?
Yeah, absolutely. There's all sorts of challenges that come with adopting teenagers. That come with just adoption in general. There's the idea that it's going to be difficult for them to trust you. It's going to be difficult. That whole transition into a family for them is going to be difficult. They've experienced trauma that affects how they think and feel and trust and all those things. And then also, I think one of the things that was really interesting for us when we first adopted our oldest daughter was I really felt the pressure of I really only have a short amount of time to build connection,
right?
Emotionally, and to build that attachment and all those things that you imagine doing with your kids as they're growing up, playing little league and all those things. We didn't have that time, and so that does certainly create some difficult situations to navigate. But it's worth navigating for them to have the opportunity to experience family.
My aforementioned Miss Scott here, who's one of my most faithful listeners, she said, I worked as a CASA volunteer for 5 years. It was the hardest volunteer job I've ever done. So she thanks you for what you do because she understands how difficult it is.
Well, thank you for being a CASA. CASA is really an amazing organization, and it is so helpful to the kids in care. And our kids had CASAs that had impacted their lives forever.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Our daughter's 22, and she still just had coffee with her CASA a few weeks ago.
Is that right?
Yep.
I guess, when you adopt them as teenagers, what I know there's a benefit, but what special benefit adopting a teenager will have? I mean, you adopted them late in their teens, 16, 17 years old. There's got to be not just the emotional benefit for that, but is there a tangible benefit for adopting an older one? Like, do they get access to better educational opportunities if they're adopted and things of that nature?
Yeah, luckily the state of Texas has really done a fantastic job of providing some support and help for these kiddos that are in the system, and incentivizing their getting good care. So they get free tuition at any state school for life, provided that they finish one class before they turn 25, and which
Just
is
one class.
which is really
And I teach at a junior college here, Hill College, and so I have to send them my way.
Absolutely. Which is what a tremendous gift to them. So they can pursue degrees, and if they find, man, this really wasn't the thing that I thought it was, they can go back and pursue something else, which is great. They also get Medicaid provided to them by the state, which is, those are kind of the two biggest costs as a parent. You're worried about how am I going to afford these things, and the state takes care of that, which is a really, really great deal.
Do most of these kids that are adopted as teenagers, how should I put it frankly, do they carry a lot of baggage with them? And does that baggage make it sometimes problematic or challenging to adopt a teenager?
Yes. Yeah. Well, there's a lot to that. That's such a huge suitcase that I'd love if we had the time to unpack. Certainly there's difficulties, but you and I have baggage, and we didn't deal with any of those things.
Hey, who told you?
Yeah. we all have issues to work out, and it's just really important that these kiddos have some safe, loving, positive adults in their lives to be with them as that stuff gets unpacked and worked through. And so that's what's really important, is that these kids get the opportunity to deal with those things, and the opportunities to be successful in spite of those things. And that's why family, I think, is really, really important.
No doubt. Now,
one of our sayings in our house is that we're willing to be rejected so that a child doesn't have to be rejected again. So even though they're trying to figure out who they are and who they want, they have biological family that they a lot of times know before they come into your house, but we just don't believe that the child should be the one to be rejected. So while they're working through that healing, we are stable adults who have the Lord, who have each other, and so we can take that so that they don't have to have that anymore.
Well, that's great to know. And so, but coming back to Hope Local and what y'all do, it's y'all that are trying to make these connections between families, and you want to use the churches as the base for those families can make those connections. Is that more or less what we're talking about here?
Yeah, kind of. We partnered with child placing agencies to actually do that matching, and we're just the ones trying to inspire the church to action to get it connected with those agencies that those matches can be made. And then oftentimes we do advocate directly for kids who are waiting to be adopted to help make those matches as well. You look like you're about to say something.
Go ahead.
Yeah, our goal is for agencies to be so full of Christians that when they're looking for a place for a child, they have many options for the child. Instead of just where is a bed where they can sleep tonight, where is a family that is the best fit? And so not only families, but support around those families. So if someone gets a placement, there's another people that will come bring a car seat or sponsor. Our son really wanted to play baseball. He hadn't played baseball. And there was a family that paid for all of his bat and shoes and all of those things.
How do you do?
He broke his arm right before the first practice.
I forgot. I'm crying out loud.
So it's terrible, actually.
I'm sorry to hear that. I'd like to hear this, Roy Hobbs' natural story. Bang, you get the ball out of the roof, but there you go.
We did have a moment. I got to play catch with him, in the driveway, the same way my parents played catch with me, which is, probably a moment that I'm really glad that I got to experience, and I think he'll be glad that he got to experience as well.
Yeah, it will be those memories. It'll be like that scene from Field of Dreams where they're throwing the ball to the dad and all that, know?
Yeah.
Oh, well, we'll see. It's kind of corny, but but you mentioned you worked with agencies. Not all these agencies are private faith-based or state-based, right?
Correct. Yeah. There's hundreds of agencies in our area, and all of them kind of licensed for different things and have kind of different main focuses. And so our goal as a bridge organization is to help churches connect to the ones that we think are really, really great and can help families and support families well. And so that's another role that we could play as an organization, is being the bridge between those and the church.
Well, I know you have to be circumspect in how you describe them, but would you say that not, being a public institution, that sometimes the faith-based aspect of your institution conflict with that?
It does happen occasionally. It certainly happens occasionally. And luckily, all the connections that we have and the state agencies that we've worked with we've been able to find common ground and move things forward, because really the main goal is the same for all of us, is we want to make sure that these kiddos have good opportunity, that they're taken care of, that they're safe, that they're loved. That's the end goal for all of us, even if we don't see the path there to be the same.
I don't envision these state agencies as being hostile, but I just may be wary because they don't know what churches you're involved with and whatnot, and they're afraid that they're going to be taking some weird cult thing or whatever and all that. So I don't envision them like being like particularly hateful, but I just imagine they're going to be reluctant at first, at least.
At first, they were definitely reluctant. We've built a good enough relationship with the state now where they can kind of text and say, hey, this church reached out. Do they partner with y'all? And normally, if it's someone that we can say, yeah, we partner with them, they're a good church, they're all in with them.
And the children that are involved, they're not particularly, shall we say, coming from a faith-based background at all. The background of the child has nothing to do with trying to get them placed, or ethnicity, the race, whatever you want to talk about. That's a non-factor in trying to place children, I'd imagine.
Correct. That's correct. Every child belongs in a family. We believe a family is gives you the best opportunity at success and experiencing unconditional love and having support, which is really important for life. And so every kid deserves that, and that's what we're working towards.
Well, and I just imagine, though, sometimes it must be tough not to bring work home. Now, you work at your house, so literally you bring it home. But but the point is, I mean, I'm sure there have been occasions when it's been tough.
Yeah.
You see a situation and you want to make a difference, you want to help, and maybe it's not going to work.
And we have brought, our newest adoption was a son that we were advocating for through work. And we saw that he was about to age out, so we literally brought him home and adopted him. And we're current foster parents, so we've had 17 kids over the past 2 years come through our house.
Good. Okay, so, no, a foster child is not meant for a permanent placement, though.
Correct.
Within your home, it's a landing spot for a while.
Right.
But the goal is to find an adoptive family for that foster child, is it not?
Well, the goal is, at least initially, it's always going to be, the permanency goal is always going to be reunification, until that's just no longer an option. In which case, permanency switches to adoption. So it's different for every kid that's in the system. Some of them, permanency goal is adoption because it's parental rights have already been terminated. Mom and dad weren't able for whatever reason to make that a thing, or weren't willing. And so, adoption is the permanency goal. But initially the goal is always to keep the biological family unit together, which for me was a struggle there's lots of times where I didn't understand that because seemingly on the surface, it didn't look like it was a healthy, good situation. But now that I've spent some time in the system and getting to know the kids, lots of kiddos who are in the system, I realize that no matter what's happened, you always want mom and dad. And so I realize the power of that bond and the strength of that is so important. And so oftentimes that's the best, even if it doesn't look like what we would hope, to look like.
So, in other words, if you saw a situation that said, that's not how I'd raise my child, you're really not going to say, you're not going to get in the way of that reunification.
You're exactly
Just
right.
safety. Safety is really the only reason. And then our goal has been then to support that birth family. We had one of our girls that just went home with bio family, and we're trying to just wrap around him so that they can be successful.
Well, your house must be fairly large to have all those kids.
It is, which is a whole other story in of
That's
itself.
a whole nother story.
Well, after the next round of commercials, I'm going to ask you how you got involved in this, because it isn't something that probably, I don't know, were you growing up thinking you're going to do this? I mean,
I was.
You were? Okay. Even as a teenager, you said, I want to be involved with some sort of operation like this?
Yeah, I wanted all the children.
Okay. Well, good for you.
Mark, not so much.
Well, that is good. And, it's the dads will tell you that, we get talked into that sometimes. and that's why we say later, it's your child that
Yes, your son did this today.
Yes, and that kind of thing. And so we make those jokes. But I kind of finish up on the state issues. Has the state of Texas been either a benefit, a hindrance, or neutral in y'all's approaches?
This is a great question. There's the state of child welfare in Texas is not good, so it's not going well. However,
You say welfare, you mean the welfare of the children or the system itself?
the whole system and how they're taking care of kiddos and vulnerable kids and families, there's some major struggle going on. However, all of the groups that we work with and know, it's made up of amazing people who are really sacrificing a lot to serve kids and families well. And I think there's always room for improvement, but we're so thankful for our partners here that we know have been able to work with.
Yeah, they're amazing. They work more hours than what they are paid to keep the kids safe. And
That's another thing. I mean, I don't know, people don't do this for the money, I'm sure, but is there any kind of financial help from the state or the federal government?
Yeah, there's some great programs that can help foster families make sure that they're able to support the kiddos in their homes really well, as well as adoptive families. The state does, I think, a fairly good job of providing.
Well, I just read in the paper. This is what I'm getting to. I read in the paper a couple of years ago. There was all sorts of problems with the CPS system. Did that impact what you were doing?
Sure. Yeah, sure. And there's still problems that exist today. They're trying to fix some of those things, but ultimately, what my stance and perspective is on all these things is that the government has rarely, if ever, been efficient and good at really any of their programs. Anything.
Any long-term listener to this program have heard me say very much the same thing.
And so I don't know why we would expect anything different here. I don't think the government is really the answer to this, and this is why I'm passionate about what we do. I think we have thousands upon thousands of really great, amazing people in our churches. I think we have the solutions to many of the issues in the system. And it's not really, the solutions aren't really going to come from the state. They're going to come from the church.
Okay. So exactly though, your job is to get churches and private people, I suppose, to connect with these agencies.
Yes.
Both faith-based and public-based, to get involved in not just the financial support of these institutions, but maybe find people within their congregations that may be interested in being foster parents and adoptive parents. I've known a lot of adoptive parents in my 30-something years of being a member of First Baptist. I was surprised, I guess, as a teacher how common it was. And so that's the best fishing grounds, for that kind of thing. And so your job, technically, how would you do it? You just go to the church and you speak in front of the congregation and say, "Hey, we got these opportunities."
Yeah, we have all sorts of different tools, and sometimes we're kind of the ones stepping in to do that. But ultimately, our goal is really to work through the church leadership. We want pastors of our churches to be passionate about this, so that they can develop ministries within their church that do these things. So we want to see churches that have ministries that are recruiting foster and adoptive families, whether that's that comes from preaching on a weekend service or advocating for kids, through different channels. Whatever we find is a good fit for your church. We're working to help churches build those ministries that do those things.
Well, and you also work with other nonprofits.
Correct.
Because we've been talking about Next Step Women's Center here in town before the show, and y'all are pretty tight, apparently. Megan's Hollowell, that's her maiden name. I keep calling her by her maiden name, Megan Swearingen. Sorry, dear. She mentioned right before the show when I made the publicity post, whatever, that she just, very, very enthusiastic about what y'all do. So you work with them?
Yeah,
We
absolutely.
work with them specifically. We want to see, the goal is for no children to even enter foster care, right? To preserve those families. So
I'd like to think so, but I'm sure that's
that's
sometimes
not always
just not possible.
Not possible. But if it is possible, if we can have people partner with Next Steps to wrap around these birth moms, support them, help them to get healthy financially, emotionally, mentally, spiritually, that's a great ministry to partner with. And then with the child placing agencies, if children do have to be removed, we want there to be enough homes that are licensed so they can say, let's put them in this home. So we partner with different child placing agencies in this area too, and then mentors and CASAs so that the child is fully advocated and wrapped around.
Whom else do you work with besides Next Step?
The Children's Advocacy Center is going to be there on Monday night.
In Cleburne. Oh, well, on Monday night, because I haven't really mentioned what Monday night is. So, but after you tell us I answered the question about who you work with, let's talk about Monday night so that the audience knows what you're talking about.
Great. Yes, Children's Advocacy Center, CASA of Johnson County, Harvest House.
Oh, yeah.
Bug.
Bugs flying around us here.
Next Step, Mari's Mission.
Did you mention Promises? I was busy swatting a fly away, but
We've had conversations with them. We have not been able to partner together on an event yet, but we love them. I think they love us.
they do. We just you got to like any other institution. There's the bureaucracy. You have to kind
It
of
just
grind your way
takes time,
through.
yeah.
No, I'm sure they do because that's.
But we
do a lot of
love
stuff.
what they're doing.
Yes, and I'm going to run. I'll wait for the commercials because you mentioned Monday night, this event called Brave. Tell us all about that.
Yeah, so Brave is Monday night at Pathway Church. It's free, and Chicken Express is providing dinner, which is delicious.
Very, very popular. Yeah.
Yeah. So we're just inviting anyone who has any interest in serving vulnerable kids and family, really any age. So we'll have child placing agencies actually there. CASA of Johnson County will be there. Next Step will be there. Children Advocacy Center will be there. You'll get to hear from a birth mom that actually lost her kids into foster care, dealing with addiction, and then was able to get them back, and the impact that foster care had on her.
So your target audience isn't just other institutions; it's the general public.
It's the community. It's anyone that lives in Johnson County, specifically for this Johnson County event.
So if you're listening to the show, or you hear it later, or you share it with friends, and you know somebody that may want to be interested in foster care or adoption, then Monday night at Pathway, what time?
I have to be there real early. What time is the actual event?
Starts at 6 p.m.
6 p.m.
6 to 7:30.
6 to
Okay. If
7:30.
you're interested in that thing, guys, you'll be able to get information that you need. You'll find out from true life participants what this means. And I don't know somebody off the top of my head, but I'm sure somebody listening to this knows either themselves or knows somebody that's been wanting to be more involved in the community like this and to be more help. So be there Monday night, guys. Share this with your friends and neighbors because the show and whatnot, because this is something that's really important. And as a teacher, I could tell you that adoptive parents and foster parents make so much difference because I have had a lot of students that did not have this support system, and boy, it's hard to watch what goes with them. But I'm going to run through this next round of commercials. I'm going to ask you how y'all got involved in this. It sounds like you told me you've been wanting to do this all your life. You nodded your head like, yeah, I'll just let her answer, but I know what's going on. Anyway, so let's talk about the next round. Thank you to Otto at our place. Y'all been there before, I assume.
Yes.
He's one of Burleson's best community citizens. He really is. Otto is very interested in community welfare, and it's also great food. It isn't, it's best restaurant of its kind in town easily. And He's very generous with the community. He also cracks me up a little bit. If you've ever been there where he's there, he's walking around like Frank Sinatra. So, there you are, Otto. Hope you're doing well. Thank you to Wild Cigar over also on the Standard over by the baseball field, by the Chisenhall Fields. Are you a cigar smoker by any chance?
No, I wish.
Well, if you ever want to get, just sample a few, Wild Cigar is a good place to do it. It's a bar. They have TVs with the sports on, but it's not a sports bar. They'll turn off the sound. And you can go there and have a cigar, a drink if you prefer also. But if you're like a rookie, they got tobacconists to help you understand what you want.
Yeah, that's what I need. I need someone to tell me how this works.
Now, this isn't some teenage kid, high school senior. It's over there. No, they got people that are trained. If you say, well, this is what I want from a cigar, they'll be able to tell you all about it. And I've been there a handful of times, and, it's just it's a decent place. It's a place you can have a deacon's meeting in. Well, I don't know, but still, I would suggest it. The joke I make about Baptists is they don't recognize the Pope to cranner each other at the bar. so there you are. Also, Antonio Basallo, Proactive Payment Solutions. He helps you with point of sales operations, help you streamline your operations, get you the best rates, most efficient systems, and find one that's tailored to your business specifically. So check out proactivepaymentsolution.com, and Antonio can hook you up. He's a good story too, because I had him on about a month ago. And he is a great example of the immigrant story, so to speak. I mean, he came here as a very young child and found out later in life it was undocumented. And he had no idea until his mom told him, and it was like a senior year in high school, and he was making applications for military. So, yeah, and so it's a really interesting story. And he's a great story because he's running his own businesses now, and he's a good man. Wow. Also, Tiffany Griffin, Local Life Magazine. The latest issues online, Local Life TX. I had her on last week. She runs a advertising magazine that goes to 30,000 homes and over 110,000 people. And she also does social media. She's the queen of Burleson, I call her. She gets embarrassed when I call her that. But anyway, it's a real good magazine. I advertise in it, and I get the response. So there you are. Also, do you have that one from? Yeah, there you go. Sprinkling. Taylor's helping me with this. This Sunday, the Seventh-day Adventist Church is having a spring fling. It's going to be not just games and such, but there's going to be community groups out there. But there will be games. There will be food. There will be bounce houses, all this. It's 2 to 6 at 3200 FM 1187, the Seventh-day Adventist Church. So I guess they get to do theirs on Sunday. Right. When we were setting this up, I said, now what Saturday is this? I'm sorry.
Yeah.
The old Baptist in me, but what can I say? But they were good sports about it. Also, the Burleson Medical Clinic. This is what I was talking about before. This is another group that you want to talk to, seriously, because they're going to be dealing with a lot of the type of patients that you're dealing with. It's not really meant for Medicaid or Medicare patients who have access to medical care, but it's meant for the working class people that don't have insurance or very good insurance, and and they can't afford maybe to just go take their kid for check out their tonsils or whatever else. And so it's over on Haskew Street, which is behind the QT, in that little area that they're redoing. It's on the corner, northeast corner of Baptist Church parking lot. And Pathways also is a partner. It's First Baptist and Pathways. Okay. They're combining together. This Caring Physician Charity Network is providing the doctors and some of the equipment. And we had a open house a week ago Sunday, and I showed some of the clips, and they have the whole thing. They got
amazing.
Yeah, examination rooms. They got teledoctor. They have counseling rooms. They don't have like lab equipment as such, but they got arrangements with lab companies here in town to do that kind of work. So, and the visit is free. There may be some minor expense for the medication. So
right.
Who knows? But
great.
No, it's what we've been needing for a long time, and so maybe that is somebody y'all can talk to and say, hey,
definitely,
this is something, occasionally we're going to maybe need medical care for one of these kids, and we'd have no idea what their insurance status is, and that's not going to really be a problem. So
yeah, it'd be a great connection.
Well, they do ask for appointments because the doctors don't work there full time. These are volunteers, and so like they have certain days for certain things, and so but they have a pediatrician that's volunteer. They have an obstetrician, OBGYN. They have a general practitioner, and they're trying to get a full crew. And so if they can't really deal with walk-ins as easily because they may not have anybody on staff there. But but if you know of a kid that needs pediatric help, you might be able to work that out for them.
Yeah, sounds like really great work that they're doing here. That's awesome.
Well, and that's the benefit of doing Mr. Allard's Neighborhood is I get exposed to all these groups, and it's amazing to me how many people just are volunteering in this community. And, and you read the paper and you see social media and think everything's going to crap. But there's a lot of people doing God's work in this community, in this area. And it's a blessing to be even just a tangential part of it. Now, enough about that. How did you get involved in this? Now, you said you grew up wanting to do this. Did you go to college for this purpose?
I actually went for education, but I had thought that I would probably end up using that education to live overseas working at an orphanage.
Oh, can I interrupt just for a second?
Sure.
One of Daniel Basin, the CrossFit sponsor, is on the board of an international orphanage, Eagle's Nest. And they've been on the show about 3 times and on Zoom because, one time they were here on a sabbatical and have been in those very seats. But I often had on the Zoom, and they're in Guatemala, and they're an orphanage, and so you'd be working probably what Terry and Tiffany McConnell are doing right now.
Yeah, that was my goal. And then
Where did you go to college?
Where? Hardin-Simmons University.
My wife did too, and my dad did too.
Oh.
My dad was a domino champ. My wife loved it at Hardin-Simmons, but my dad went there because my aunt threatened him with a beating if he didn't get an education. Yeah. So.
Yeah, I loved it. And that's where we met. Well, not at going to college, but we met in Abilene doing youth ministry. We were doing junior high youth ministry. I helped run an after-school program for at-risk youth. And then I started taking all of those kids to our youth group. And Mark was there volunteering in the youth ministry. And then I had them at my house pretty consistently. None of them were officially in foster care, but labeled at-risk in the school system. So they were at my house pretty regular.
Yeah, Chelsea's always just been a mom to many. Like anyone who needs some mothering, like Chelsea is there for that.
Yeah, well, it's a great thing. I'm sure it can be tiresome, or tiring. That's not tiresome. Is not the right word. Tiring, yes. Fatiguing. But so you decided rather than going overseas, you felt the calling to do this instead.
Yes, I thought I couldn't get pregnant. Just some issues that I had growing up. And so that led to the conversation of foster care and adoption. So actually on our first date, I let him know.
First date, huh?
First date. As, if you're not interested in foster or adoption, then we should probably just be friends.
And you said,
I'm in.
You're in, okay.
I mean, I was love struck from day one,
That's
so I'm not going to say no.
Yeah, so then we ended up getting pregnant 3 months after we got married. Huge surprise, blessing.
It's a blessing.
Terrified at the moment. I was still in college.
So you got married in college?
Yes.
Okay. I have a lot of DBU students that are getting married in their senior year. It's like, it's part of the degree plan.
It is, the MRS degree.
Yeah, it's exactly right.
So then we had our kept having children. So after our 3 boys, we kind of decided, okay, it's time to start into this journey. After working with at-risk youth so much, we did not plan on bringing teenagers in. We had planned on bringing younger in at the beginning. And then we had some older kids live with us on and off throughout this time as well. But then once we just saw the need, we ended up adopting our daughter, and that kind of led to what we do now.
Now, what you were telling me before the show is before you went on full-time, you did this as a volunteer?
We volunteered with the organization.
So, I mean, what was y'all's profession before you decided to jump into the lake with both feet?
Yeah, I'd been working full-time at a church in the west side of Fort Worth, doing all sorts of different stuff, facilities management, IT, tech production, missions pastor, all those things. All the while, this organization was actually being born out of that church. It just so happened that
Which church is this?
This is called High Ridge Church.
Okay.
Over there on the west side in the Benbrook area. And there was just, for whatever reason, there were several families in the church that were going through the adoption process at the same time. And so we thought, hey, we ought to kind of formalize this and make sure that they're supported, make sure that they're taken care of, make sure that other people in the church know about what these families are doing so that, if they're interested, they might step up and get involved. And so that was when we decided it was time for us to kind of get in the process. And so as we were building that ministry at High Ridge Church, that's when we recognized the need for this type of ministry at many other churches.
Before you went full-time, what was your profession?
Mostly a mom. I had 5 kids at this point. Yes, we got our 6th in 2020. So I'd done a bunch of part-time work at High Ridge Church as well. I helped run the young adult ministry and then helped with planning mission trips, and then went on any mission trips that I could find childcare for my kids. So yeah, I did that and then volunteered here. With our fifth son, I ended up not working even part-time anymore. He
Well, I mean, that's a lot. Yeah, well,
he needed a lot of attention.
they all do.
Yeah.
You know, sometimes I think I only raised a son and a daughter. Sometimes I feel like I raised like 9 kids,
Yeah.
you know, and something like that. But yeah, and so, but you told me that December 19, you said, this is it for us. We're going to make this our profession. We're going to do this full time.
Yeah, it just so happened my boss at High Ridge was on the board at Hope Local, and they were going through some leadership change. And one of our regular just oversight meetings about facilities at High Ridge Church, he said, "Oh yeah, we were almost done with our meeting." He said, "Oh, I had one more thing to ask you." And he said, "Hey, do you think that you could run Hope Local?" And I was just like, yeah, I think I can. And he said, "Well, I just wanted you to know these things are going on, and I'm gonna make it my recommendation to the board that we appoint you as leadership." And so the next week he called and said, "Hey man, you're in." And so we had the month of December to plan to transition out of working for a church full time and into leading a nonprofit.
And I'm not being rude here while I text, but Shandy Stogsdill is who I'm texting with, and she has the Re-Inspire group. And so
Great.
She wants your number, or I'm going to give y'all her number,
Yeah.
so y'all can connect and whatnot. So y'all can maybe, she could be part of that Brave
Definitely.
presentation. Well, I mean, because they write, y'all are just hand in glove, and so I'll give you your number right after this. So
Okay, great.
she heard, and she's very enthusiastic about this organization. So, but you jump in 19, and then 3 months later, here comes COVID, and it blew everything up, and it probably made it very difficult to meet with children or with organizations or whatever else. And so everything just goes to a grinding halt, and you're probably thinking, Lord, if you're going to throw us in the grease like this, give us a little more warning, whatever. But apparently, no, God doesn't throw you in the grease. He gives you what you can do, make it work.
Yeah, 2020 was it was a wild time to transition, into a different career and all those things. There was lots of difficulties that the organization faced. All of our fundraising was event-based, which all went away. Of course, at that time, with lockdowns and people not going to work, there was actually, a major increase in, abuse and neglect in some families, which led to more kids entering the foster care system. And so there was greater need, but it was even more difficult to have any sort of recruitment efforts. And so there was a lot going on in 2020, but God was graceful to us, and we had a really, really fantastic year in adding churches into this program and finding homes for kiddos. We ended up finding, helping 15 kids get adopted that year.
Really, that's amazing. Even during COVID, I'm sure though, everything shut down. You had to deal with the educational process, the online business with all those kids, and oh my goodness, because I had a lot of friends still in the system, teaching system, and they said 2020 and 21 were just brutal because of the online processes, and the parents hated it even more. And so you're dealing with like all these kids.
Yeah, we'd gotten our sixth son spring break, the eternal spring break. So we called it the year of forced bonding.
Well, I guess in a sense it was a helpful thing for y'all because you had no other option but to bond. You must have a pretty big house from what I've described. I mean, what you're telling me, all these kids coming in and out. You have like bunk beds and all this other stuff. And
yeah, luckily our house is another amazing story of what it looks like when the church is engaged in this. We had, it's a really interesting story I'd love to tell you. We'd adopted Avery. She's our oldest. And so we had, what we thought was like the greatest house ever. It was a 1,500 square foot, 3-bedroom house. And so we built triple bunk beds for our 3 boys. And so they were in one room. Of course, we were in the master, and then Avery was in her room. And then about 6 months later, we were pursuing adoption of her little brother, Joe. And so, but we just didn't have we couldn't fit him in our house physically. We already had the boys in triple bunks.
Is there any kind of regulation about the size of the house?
Yeah, you have to have so many square feet per child, and so we'd explored all the options. We were going to enclose our garage, but the HOA said no. We couldn't really afford to build on. And it was just it was a mess. And a family in our church had heard about what we were trying to do, and so they came to us and said, "Hey, what's your payment on your house now?" And they ended up purchasing this humongous 6-bedroom house and financed it to us at the same payment that we were paying at our smaller house.
Good grief!
We had another family come in and replace all the floors. We had electricians come and replace all the light fixtures. We had really felt the power of community rallying around us to take care of us, so that we were able to adopt Joe.
That grocery bill must be pretty substantial.
Oh man.
Yeah, Costco is my friend.
Hey, Costco is your friend, and you come in there. You're that woman that has like 2 carts, full. But do you get any help with that at all? I mean, the state, or I know you talk about church members and all that, but did the state help with that?
Yeah, whenever you adopt, the state does provide a stipend to help offset some of the costs of bringing a new kiddo into your family. It's not major, but it's certainly helpful. And then what we found is, again, our church rallied around us. So every time we took a placement for 6 months, they'd bring us 1 meal a week. They'd help refill our pantry. They'd help us run errands, and just love on us and let us focus on, being a family and taking care of our family.
Sounds like quite the church, like a true church.
Absolutely. It's really a picture of what the church should look like: community and spiritual family, bearing each other's burdens so that we can all succeed and do well.
I just imagine sometimes, though, during the holidays in particular, it can be a little bit chaotic. Christmas time and all that, and various other things, and birthdays and whatnot. And you got to keep track of that, because they may not have had birthday parties in their life before.
Right.
So you have to keep track of all those things. And that just, to me, that's I'm a 60-year-old man here. I'm thinking, man, I'll never make it. I'll make it through the day. I'm too tired, and I'm sure you've had those days too.
Oh yeah.
But
I think I've been tired for 6 years now.
At the end, though, how is Hope Local funded? I want to make sure we get to that point before we're getting. How much more time we have? We got about another 10 minutes. So I'd like to know how is Hope Local funded?
Yeah, we are just donor funded. We just rely on the generosity of people to help this thing move forward, so that we can see the church engage and more kids placed in homes and taken care of and supported. And so we do just some fundraising and asking people that are passionate about this if they have the ability to help support us to do that.
How would one get a hold of you to do this?
The easiest way is on our website, hopelocal.com, or you can go to give.hopelocal.com, and that'll take you directly to the
hopelocal.com probably has a donate button.
Correct.
And whatnot. Same with like my friends at Eagles Nest. So I sponsor a couple of kids, and I don't say that to pat myself on the back, because, it's a small thing. I wish I could do more, and I'm sure a lot of people that help you out wish they could do more. So it's mostly from private individuals. It's not from organizations.
Correct. It's mostly private individuals, and then we have some amazing churches. Grace View Baptist Church is an amazing supporter. They give above and beyond generously and support us. And so some of our partner churches that have really built some ministry and seen some fruit from the ministry have been great supporters as well. But it's mostly individual donors.
Okay. And so how do you contact them?
We used to do that event based. We'd invite people to dinners, and so now a lot of it's just networking. It's it's at events, meeting people, being in places like this, just being on the hustle and networking.
Well, I hope this modest podcast helps you with that, because I don't know how many listeners I have at any one time, but I hope it helps, because it's obviously it's a great thing. And so hopelocal.com, and it can see all about your organization. It can also drop a few dollars, which I know is tax exempt, which is always a good thing to have.
Absolutely.
Not that that'd be the primary motivation, but there you go. But there, obviously, I'm sure things are run frugally. Because it's not. No one gets rich on these kind of things.
No. If I was if I was in it for the money, I would be doing something completely different.
Yeah, I know. Yeah,
that's something that I'm really, really passionate about. We don't spend a dime that's not necessary in going towards serving vulnerable kids and families. And so we've, anytime if anyone has questions about our books and how we spend our money, I'd love to answer those questions for them. I feel fully confident that if anyone saw our books and how we're spending money, that they'd have no problem supporting us.
Okay, I know that event-based is how most of the Burleson nonprofits do it, and they use this avenue to do it. I hope it helps with Monday night's Brave I don't know what you call it, an event, an
Yeah, it's like,
operation.
we would call it like a recruitment event. Like, this is an
Recruitment event, okay.
this is an opportunity for, if you're interested in foster care and adoption, that's great. And if you're not, it's still a great place to find a fit. It's for everyone to come and find a place to serve.
Right. If even if you're not wanting to adopt yourself, you can say, but I want to work with doing what these people are doing, or what Shandy's group is doing, or
yeah, maybe you could be a mentor, or maybe you could be a CASA, or maybe you could just serve one day a week at one of these other great organizations that we've been talking about. Whatever it is that fits for you and your family, there's a place for you to plug in, and that's what our Brave event is designed to do, is to help you find your fit.
I don't know of any group in town that turns away volunteers.
Right.
So,
Yeah.
I've talked to Megan over at Next Step, and they have a good, reliable volunteer group, but they can always use more.
Absolutely.
Shandy, same thing. I was talking to to a couple of other nonprofits, and they just really, they could really use it as well, because the type of volunteer work that this requires is not just showing up. I mean,
Right.
you got to invest yourself in it, and it can be emotionally difficult sometimes. How do y'all deal with that? Because there's got to be times that you just like, Lord, this is a hard one to deal with. How do y'all deal with it?
This is a great question. Like, just first of all, just understanding the grace of God in our own lives is really, really helpful. That's the foundational part of all of this. But just having support and people that you can talk to, people that understand what's happening in these things. Taking regular breaks is really, really important. Having really good boundaries is really, really important. Knowing when to say no. We just had a situation where we had a placement and they asked us to extend, but I needed a break. And so even though it was really, really hard for me to say no, because I just wanted to help and serve this kid, I knew it was best for everyone for us to do that. So good boundaries, being able to take breaks, having support are really the most important parts.
Well, I'm highly impressed. I'm very impressed with your program. I'm impressed with both of y'all for doing God's work like this. It's not easy. And so I hope this Monday night event is more successful than you even imagine it would be. And I'm going to run through the sponsors real quick, say thanks and whatnot. And then we'll let y'all have the last word. Tell us everything you want us to know.
Great.
All right. Thank you to Daniel. Like I mentioned, he's on that board for Eagle's Nest, that orphanage in Guatemala. And I'm going to have the McConnells on when it fits their schedule. They're way out in away from the big city, and so their internet's not good. So I have to
reliable,
wait.
Yeah.
So I have to wait till they make their weekly trip into Guatemala, or the main cities in Guatemala. Also, thank you to Shandy, and like I said, y'all be in contact after the show, and I think she'll be very glad to hear what y'all have to say, because like I said, y'all have a very compatible organization. And thank you for your sponsorship. Also, thank you to Rex. Hope you're doing well at myfinancialbox.com. Hit the link and get to know him, and you'll be glad you did. Thank you to Gayla. It's now graduate seasons for, and also wedding season. Really nice jewelry, really nice. And and she's a very fine lady. And I'm glad she's a sponsor. Thank you. And also, I'm glad Michelle Humphrey here is a sponsor, another good woman. Hot Works, great program, good workout. Probably could use it to relieve some stress.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
Because that's what it's meant to do. It's a different type of workout, and she's trying to, get you, a workout that helps you with stressful issues, which sounds like it's a daily thing.
Yeah.
Thank you to Otto. Hope you're doing well, Otto. I'll be seeing you Thursday. I have a bi-weekly Sunday school breakfast with the Dawn Patrol, as we call it, at 6:30 in the morning. Like, oh my gosh, they do serve breakfast all day, guys, but no, they all want to get up there early. I never understood about getting up early to pray. It's like, God is 24/7,
Right.
He'll leave me at 5 in the afternoon, just as good as 5 in the morning, but people do it. Anyway, so thank you to Chris. Hope you're doing well. Hope your weekend went well. He had a big promotional weekend. A lot of big wigs in the cigar business were in town, so hope that went well for you. Thank you to Antonio. Hope your business is doing well. And he's a good guy. If you need an electrician for your house, he also is a certified electrician. Besides what he's doing, besides this, he's starting his own business here with this Proactive Payment Solutions. Thank you, Tiffany. Hope you're doing well. I enjoyed your show last week. She's always entertaining because she just, so bubbly personality and all this.
The queen, she's got to be.
She got to be the queen. And so tell us everything in about 5 minutes you would want us to know about Hope Local.
Well, we would just very, very much love for you guys to come to our event on Monday night. Even if you're skeptical, or even if you're thinking, hey, this isn't for me. I have nothing to do with this. This has nothing to do with me. I'd love for you to just come and hear, learn about what's happening in child welfare right here in your backyard. Connect with the organizations and the ministries and the churches and the people right here in the community that are connected to this, so that at least you know about what's going on. And if you do, I think it's likely you might be inspired and might find a place that you'd like to get connected. And so we'd love for you to come visit us. We're super thankful to all of our partner churches here in the area that have worked to put this together. We have Cleveland Bible Church that's been a part of this. We have Graceview Baptist. We have Pathway Church. Those are our 3 churches that are hosting and putting this event on. And we're just thankful for you for letting us come and
it's my pleasure. It's my honor.
And talk about this. I can talk about this as much as anyone will listen to me. And so we're very thankful to be here and for this opportunity.
No problem. Anything you'd like to say?
Yeah, just that this really is for everyone. That's kind of one of our goals at Hope Local is a lot of times people say that they think this is only for foster parents or people that want to have kids into their home, but really it's so much more than that. Even like the Hot Works could offer free classes for foster and adoptive moms to come in and de-stress once a month, or financial stuff for kids that are aging out. There's really something that every business and every family, every person can contribute to helping the vulnerable. And I think when we all play our part in helping the vulnerable, our community is going to be such a healthier place.
Yes, and I'm honored to have you on my show. I appreciate very much what you'll do. God bless you. God bless your work. We hope for the best on Monday and past that. Guys, send us around. It's on YouTube. It'll be available, right now. So send it, share it, whatever else. And thank you, Taylor. We'll see you Friday, I believe. We were having the show with Shandy on Friday.
Yeah.
Okay. And we'll see y'all later, guys.